Hey everybody, this is Darwin Reina, the festival director of the North Film Festival in Stockholm, Sweden. Guys, basically I'm doing those interviews, the same thing that I did back in Barcelona, is for you guys to connect. So you can see the films of other filmmakers and you connect with them before we start the festival. So this is the important thing about those interviews. And today we have Nicolette. She's coming from Australia, and she made this beautiful work that is selecting our festival, which is a Wither, and it's an animation short film. How are you, Nicolette?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. Lovely to meet you, and thank you for taking the time to interview me and chat about my film.
No, thank you for being with us and in such a rush, right? Because I just asked you like 1 hour and you're in Australia and you're like, yes, let's do it. So it's
Yeah,
a
let's go for it. Perfect time.
yeah, it's a beautiful word, Wither. Tell me where you get the idea from and how do you develop the idea first?
Well, this one was quite a personal story for me. So I was currently studying at the time, finishing a master's degree, and it was a bit of a crazy time because my mum had just passed away from cancer, and I wanted to
Mhm.
tell a story that was meaningful to me and just kind of encapsulated what not just myself but my whole family was going through at the time. So it's kind of just a take on the emotion that goes through sort of the first 3 months of losing someone who's really important to you. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. It's basically a character projecting how she feels onto flowers. So I guess it's loosely autobiographical in the sense that the feelings are true. And I just kind of figured that the flowers would be a good way to tell the story. That's basically where the idea came from.
Wow, I'm sorry for your loss, eh? Beautiful story, yeah. How's the? Let's explain to people who's not so into animation because I love animation. I'm not as good as you. I'm in the process of learning. But how important is the
Yeah, good on you.
pre-production? The pre-production in animation short film. Can you tell us what do you do during that process with her?
Yeah, so basically for the pre-production, I wanted to get the story down. So I probably spent about 3 weeks in pre-production, 2 to 3 weeks. It was very quick. I just had to turn it around like that. And I think with this particular story, if you're passionate about the story, if you know the story that you want to tell, and if it's only short, you just get it down. So you work out what your shots are, you work out kind of a narrative arc. I hadn't done anything, like I hadn't designed characters, I hadn't worked out what the world would look like. I just said, okay, these are the shots, these are the parts that I need to hit. And the first thing that I did was create an animatic, which is basically just each of the parts laid out like a storyboard, but then you just cut them together very crudely. Add a little bit of sound. It's all temporary. Then you work out, is this story working? Yes or no? Do I need to tweak anything? But I think that just getting that down first before you show it to anybody is key, because it means that you've always got your story and you can't really have other people influence your ideas because you know the story that you want to tell. So for me in that instance, I knew what the story needed to be. So I just had to get it down before I could share it with anybody. And then they could see a kind of a confidence in the storytelling. And I think that for particularly for new filmmakers out there, it's just a good idea to just get your idea down, because no one knows your story like you do. So if you can tell your story in the way that you know that it should be told, I recommend just going for it. Just getting it down there, lay it out, and that's kind of your pre-production done. Then you just start working out your characters, you work out your look from there. But you've got a really confident voice going in.
Nicolette, when you do, I guess you did some kind of storyboards, right? So you use those storyboards to do the animatics, or you do like one storyboards and then you jump into a computer and other storyboards. How was that for the animatics?
Yeah, so for the animatic, I kind of just started sketching on a tablet, a digital graphics
Mhm.
tablet. So it means that you can kind of you can even do it in Photoshop. You can kind of scrub through how the shots will look one after the other. So rather than drawing actual physical frames on paper, you can just have them drawn digitally and just kind of scrub through your timeline, work out how the shots will flow into each other, then export them out and lay them out in a timeline, work out how long they need to be. Um, I mean, there's you can totally do it by hand as well, just pin them up on a board. And then your storyboard can essentially become your animatic.
Right.
If you
So
just want to get it down quickly.
I guess you argue you draw pretty good, right? You think it's very important to know how to draw to do
No,
animation, or what do you say about that?
well, I actually think that you can find a style that works with what you know how to draw. So I used to teach a few kids how to animate, and for me, I wasn't concerned with how well they could draw. It was just, okay, well, how are we going to get from this frame to the next frame? So you can practice with flip books, just draw, like make a character blink. So however much you know how to draw, it doesn't need to be of a high quality. Or you can just animate just little things like make a ball bounce. And really it's just practice. So if you want to refine your skills so that you can do kind of a higher standard of animation, you just keep drawing, keep practicing, read through a few books. That's kind of how I learned how to animate, just reading through books. There's a lot that you can do and kind of initiate on your own. But yeah, I mean, if you want to animate and you want to just have fun with it, you really don't need high level of drawing skills. You can just go for it.
Now that you mention books, which one is the one that impact on you of many? I know that the Survivor Animator,
Yeah,
Survivor Kids, and
that's
the
the one
Illusion
right
of
there.
Life. That's the one?
Yeah, I've got it right here. Let me grab it for you. This is the one.
So that's the one. That's the one that impacts
Yeah,
the most for you.
the Richard
Cool.
Williams book right there is one that I would recommend to anyone who wants to give it a go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just the survival kit. So this book pretty much taught me how to animate. You just kind of flick through and look at the drawings. You basically learn by looking at pictures. And I can highly recommend to anyone who wants to just give it a go, get this book, and you can learn a lot.
Nice, nice. So all the wannabe animators out there like me, I need to read that book. I got the book, but I just been, just passing through pages. Let's go to
that's all I did.
Let's go to the production time, because people doesn't know that it takes a lot of time doing those for almost 3 minutes that you have there. How long was the process? And walk us a little bit. Okay, no, before we jump to that, very quick. How do you design your characters? You started sketching, you got ideas, you see pictures. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually based my character on myself.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's a little bit of a resemblance there. So I can I just sort of use that as a foundation. Basically what I like to do when I design a character is I work out which features I want to augment. Because it's always good if your characters feel like something that's real. So it's like you consider the eye shape. It's like, is this the kind of shape that a real person would have? Rather than just kind of going for something more generic, you want to make each feature a little bit more specific to who your character is. So I think that for the design, it's important to consider what needs to be communicated. So you'll consider the style of the whole piece. If you want it to be painterly, if you want it to be more graphic. And then I think from there, you just kind of have to, I don't know, like I guess the process is just working out which features need to be exaggerated in a certain way. Like, do you shift the distance between the eyes or the mouth? And I guess that's just for human characters, and goes into a whole new world when you start designing animals and aliens and all kinds of crazy things. But yeah, I think it's a bit of practice. There's a little bit of iteration, but I think that the more that you practice, the quicker you get at the process. And you can very quickly start to churn things out once you've kind of worked out your own style, your own language, how to build a narrative around what you personally like, your own preference, and yeah, and then it's always
go ahead.
I know, then it's always different if you've got to respond to a creative brief as well. You have to learn how to interpret that, what the client's asking you for. But if it's something personal, then you can totally have free reign on what your character can look like.
Cool. Tell me the production, which software do you use for that? Or how many software do you use? And how long was the process of making this great film?
So the software that I mostly used was this program called TV Paint, which is a French program used for animation. And basically, they've got like lovely brushes in there. They've got a great timeline, a great system, and yeah, it's just it gives you a lot of flexibility to play with the frames, to reorder them and shuffle them. And in terms of the length, it probably took, the actual production was probably about 4 months, I would say. But that was very, very consistent. So you would wake up, animate the whole day, and then that's the end of the day. And yeah, you kind of just keep working through. Most of it I just did from home, and it's just a lot of production. So I kind of did it as part of a semester for my master. So I kind of had a deadline there. So I think I started in around August and finished beginning of November, I believe.
And do you use only a TV Paint, or you use another software, or you do everything there? How was the composition? Do you use another software for that?
So for the backgrounds, I painted them in Photoshop. They've got a decent timeline structure in Photoshop too, but I just find that it's got a few limitations. So I just prefer the interface of TV Paint for animation, but there are some great things that you can do in Photoshop, just if you're playing around with it and if it's what you have access to. Yeah, just with the timeline there, it's nice just to use the brushes that are provided and build something around there. And it's certainly a great tool for painting backgrounds.
Because you did the animation as well, right? For your film, right? Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty. So
yeah.
Do you remember how many hours you were working on this project every single day? So people have a knowledge
yeah,
about.
so I probably did 8 to 10 hours a day of animation, sometimes more depending on how tight the deadline was. And I was very, very lucky that I had my sister and my best friend, so Olivia Axiak, my sister, and Jelena Sinik, my friend, who helped me get it over the line with a bit of coloring. So after I'd finished some of the shots, they just as a favor to me, just helped me color some of the frames just so that I could get it finished in time for the deadline. So that was a huge help to me, just to get it all together. But yeah, the hours are long, but it's what you do when you're passionate about something, I think.
Right. I'm watching now. I really like the style you have in your film. You know, we have great animation short films in the festival. You have to watch them on the online moment.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I love the look. You know, this brownish that you have there. What do you think is what is the important thing let's go into animation and animators, right? The animator needs to really know, like no to be a good animator. What is that thing?
All right. Yeah, I think the best things to know, I would say, work out the story that you want to tell. So the story doesn't have to be conventional. It doesn't have to be linear. It might just be a series of shots and a series of I don't know, just like moments that you want to capture. But I think that creating an emotion, whether it's funny, whether it's sad, whether it's just, I don't know, just provoke something. I think that knowing the story that you want to tell is key before even you put pen to paper, because there's always ways that you can tell it. So if you want to do it in a very simple graphic style, you can do it. If you want to practice your animation skills a little bit more so that you can do some crazy emotion, that's totally sweet too. But I think everything comes from story.
Right.
Sorry.
No worries. Right. What about the post-production? What is the post-production in a short film like Wither? What do you think? It was coloring, sound, sound mix. What else do you do in the post-production of this film?
Yeah, so I think that for the post, there was a bit of sound editing in, sorry, a bit of sound editing in there. So I also recorded the sounds myself, and I overlaid them to replace the temporary sound. It's just, it was quite like, most of it was done in the production. So I just put all the shots in a timeline and went from there. So that was pretty straightforward for me.
How do you know it was ready, your film? Did you show it to more people to get feedback, or it was something very personal, as you say, for you, and then you just went with whatever it was there? How was that?
So it was just the
How do you
people received
decide?
it.
How do you decide it was the final master? Do you
Yeah, well,
show
I
it to
think,
people, or it was more your intuition?
yes, I think it really didn't deviate much from the original premise. Sorry. So the first story that I created kind of was shot the same as the final one that I produced. So other than that, really, like, the story that I showed people at the end was the same as my initial idea, and it was very well received at the time too. So I was really happy with everything, like how people liked it and responded to it. And yeah, it's just always so lovely to see people connect with your art in a way that's very significant, and they know that it's the story that you built rather than one that was dictated to you.
Right. Yeah, it's
So
pretty
for me,
cool.
that's very meaningful. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
beautiful. So how can we? Amal, maybe you know this. Your film is 2D, but it's also like kind of 2D and a half, right? Like they call it like that, 2D and 0.5 is what they call, like it's
A little bit.
a little bit, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit of parallax in there. So
Uh-huh.
the camera doesn't move very much, but you can kind of set up a shot so that it has layers. And if you move a camera through the shot, which there are a couple of shots in there, you can create like a really nice parallax effect.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
a great trick that I've been experimenting, particularly with later films too. Like we do a lot of sort of depth of field and camera shifts and things like that. Really fun to play around with.
Cool. I got two more questions before I let you go, Nicolette.
Mhm.
What do you think is the most important thing when you're doing besides the story? We already know that the story is key.
Yeah.
But time you do it to the animation, what is the most important thing that I mean, everything in animation is difficult because, I know how difficult it is in every frame.
Yeah.
But what is the thing that you really need to get down, like you really need to know to make an animation short film? Besides the story, don't tell me the story. We already know that.
No, we know that. Yeah. Well, I think discipline is important. So you need to have kind of the patience because it takes a really long time. So I just mentally to sit down for a long haul and just draw frame by frame because every single frame is hand drawn. So for this style of 2D animation, I think patience is certainly key in being able to produce something, and persistence, because so many times you can feel like you want to give up, but then when you stick it out, you can put it into festivals and meet amazing people like yourself.
Oh, thank you. You look like yourself too. Hey, Nicolette,
Thank
tell me
you.
one thing. Where if so, guys, again, I'm saying these interviews are for people from the festival to connect each other. Even if you guys don't know each other, just come and look for Nicolette and become friend with her, and during the festival as well, connect. This is the most important thing about festivals. Now that we're not doing it live in Stockholm, we have to do it online because of the situation we're going through. How people can find you, Nicolette, through social media? Can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, so I've got just my website, nicoletteaxiak.com. Social media would be Nick Ax, spelled NICQAXE, would be my Instagram handle. So that'd be the two places that you can find me.
So congratulations on your film, huh? And best of luck because you are nominated for Best Animation Short Film. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. That's such an honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and good luck with the festival. I'm excited to follow along and see how it all goes.
Please,
And
yeah,
sorry
come
that
over.
it's had to go online. And yeah, I hope that everyone's well and safe.
Yeah, but next year.
Next year. Yeah. No, that sounds great.
So yeah, pass by and watch other animation short films that are also nominated, and you guys can also see each other's work. This is the point, right? And see.
Yeah, absolutely.
But congratulations, it's beautiful work. I really love your work. It was amazing
Thank
to
you
watch.
so much. I'm glad that you love it, and yeah, take care, and I hope we can be in touch soon another
Yes,
time.
absolutely. All right. Have a good day. Have a
Yeah,
good night.
and
It's night time
and
now in Australia.
yeah, good luck with your animation. Keep with it.
Yes, exactly. I gotta read the animators rival kit for sure.
Yeah.
Now
Oh
that
yeah.
you
Well,
mention.
you just flick through and you'll learn. That's all
All
I
right.
did.
Thank
All
you,
right. Have
Nicolette.
have
Have
a
a good
great
night.
day. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Thanks.